Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, look at that. I actually have time to make a video. Man, with two jobs, it's just, I don't have a lot of free time. And when I have free time, I don't feel like ranting and raving. I do that enough driving. But we're going to talk about how the left, liberals, increasingly are seeing freedom of speech differently. They now, in a nutshell, for the longest time, we defended freedom of speech as, you can say basically anything you want as long as it doesn't, is not a call to violence, doesn't lead to violence. And that is how everyone, regardless of political ideology, has understood freedom of speech to be for the vast majority of this nation's history. For 99.9% of the years the United States has existed. That is what we understood freedom of speech to be. Now, just magically, within, I'd say, the last... it's ever been increasing for several years now, maybe even a decade. But it has accelerated since Trump got into office. So let's just say the last 5 years, whatever. They're not okay with that definition anymore, because that means their opponents, their political opponents, the people they see as the enemy, have freedom of speech. Well, they can't have freedom of speech. They're evil. They're Trump supporters. They're Nazis. They're white supremacists. They're racists. They're homophobes. They're Islamophobes. Whatever. Thousands of buzzwords that the media's crammed down their throats for years now to describe anyone to the right of Mao, for crying out loud. There's this meme, it's just like, I just want the government to leave me alone and not take my taxes and just let me live on my property and live my life in peace. And then the other person's like, you're a right-wing, radical, domestic terrorist. It's like, that's what they think now. I've gotten that exact same response from dozens of people throughout the years. Basically saying that, give or take a couple of different words or something. So they're not okay with their political opponents having freedom of speech. Now they view as freedom of speech as anyone I disagree with shouldn't have freedom of speech. Well, they can't say that outright. Sometimes they do, to be honest. Sometimes they say that outright, but a lot of times they don't. Their new thing they hide under is anyone who's dangerous. We saw this a lot, the justification for why Trump was kicked off of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and everything else under the sun. It was because what he said on January 6th was dangerous. Okay, well, it wasn't dangerous. He called for people to peacefully protest and then to go home. So I don't know how that could possibly be interpreted as dangerous. Oh, they say fight like hell. So if you call for someone to fight like hell, then that means they're dangerous. So when Democrats call on their supporters to fight like hell against abortion in certain states, is that dangerous? Is that a call to action? Is that a call to violence? Why is it only when Trump says fight like hell was that determination to be dangerous or a call to violence? Every single other time that has been used in political history for literally thousands of fucking years, politicians have used that word to fight for your rights, fight for your country, fight for something you believe in, stand up for yourself, whatever the context will be. That was all okay. But the moment Trump said on January 6th, no, that's dangerous. The problem is this, and I've said this many times before, Democrats don't actually care about any of these issues. They don't actually care about freedom of speech or if something's dangerous or not, because they vote for the most dangerous politicians who have ever fucking existed on this planet all the freaking time. Obviously, they don't care about dangerous, otherwise they wouldn't have voted for Clinton, Obama, Biden, who have killed literally hundreds of thousands of people throughout the years. Biden, of course, he's just starting off, so he doesn't have that body count yet, but he's on par to reach it. I think Obama killed more than Clinton because he was just obsessed with drone striking weddings and funerals and stuff, which was just the weirdest thing to be attracted to, obsessed with. But that's beside the point. Getting off topic here, you got me rambling. I'm trying to keep this concise. Famous last words. They don't actually care about any of these issues. Freedom of speech, being dangerous or not, abortion. Well, actually, they might care about that one because they're psychopaths who like to kill babies. They don't care about these issues. Children at the border, kids in cages, bad infrastructure, whatever word you want to choose, doesn't really matter. They don't actually care about any of these issues. They just want to use it as a bludgeon, as an attack against their political opponents. Case in point, they cried and screamed hysterically for years about Trump was keeping kids in cages at the border. How many times did you hear that over the years? Hundreds and thousands of times. And yet when Biden took office and nothing changed, in fact, it got worse. There were more kids that stuck in cages than ever before. The living conditions were way worse than ever before. Crickets from them. Absolute fucking crickets. They don't actually care that kids are in cages at the border. They don't actually care about any of these issues that they complain about Trump about. All they want is like, how can I beat up Trump? How can I attack Trump? Oh, here's this issue. Let me use that as a bludgeon. The same thing about freedom of speech. They don't actually care about freedom of speech. They don't actually care about electing dangerous politicians to office. Otherwise, almost every single politician we have right now, except for like Rand Paul and Tulsi Gabbard, maybe two good ones, decent, all right, still have problems, but whatever. All of them would be kicked off of every single social media, kicked out of Congress, censored, whatever, because they are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than Trump. These people who have political ideologies as different from their radical leftist perspective are not dangerous. They're just different. Case in point, Nicholas Fuentes, he's an American commentator who's been banned off every single thing known to mankind, except for Twitter. Magically, he's still on Twitter. I don't know how the fuck he managed to do that. He even got banned off of DLive. He got banned off of YouTube. He got banned off of Facebook. Then he went to DLive. Then he got banned off of DLive. He's still magically, he's allowed on Twitter. It makes no freaking sense. But anyway, he's a kid. I don't know how old he is now, like 22 or something. He's much younger than me. He was barred from boarding a plane, ironically, to go to a conference about big tech censorship. And the justification that the leftists used to support this or to cheer this on was that he is a dangerous individual. Okay. Point to me one dangerous thing he has said. Point to me any dangerous crimes he has been committed of or even arrested for. Point to me anything that would justify barring a 22-year-old kid from the suburbs of Chicago from boarding a fucking plane. You can comb through everything he has said. You will find absolutely nothing. You will find offensive jokes. You will find offensive things and bad humor, but that's just a sense of humor. He's a commentator. People make edgy jokes. Are we going to ban everyone from Saturday Night Live because they make edgy jokes we don't like? Or are we going to ban everyone from who used to be on Mad TV because they said offensive things? Are we going to ban Dave Chappelle? Actually, they want to ban Dave Chappelle. Just because you make a joke about doing something violent or offensive doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. It's called a freaking joke. But, you know, liberals haven't had sense of humor for decades now. You can comb through, you can look them up. Find anything about him that's not censored because they try to scrub him from the internet, scrub him from freaking existence. You can comb through everything he has said over the years. You will find nothing that calls to violence or that is dangerous. But the thing is, they don't actually care about someone being dangerous or not. Otherwise, they would ban, again, themselves for having dangerous opinions. Like, you can call for gun control, the mass confiscation of all guns at the point from gunpoint from police and soldiers, and you won't be censored off Twitter or Facebook for inciting violence or inciting dangerous rhetoric. That is objectively dangerous. Hundreds of thousands, not millions of people would die from that policy result. They don't actually care about dangerous ideas. They just, okay, how can they think themselves, how can we censor our opponents? How can we censor anyone who doesn't think like us? Well, we can just call them dangerous and then use that justification to censor. Okay, click. And that's what they do. The Nicholas Fuentes thing is just one example of this. They want to do this for everything. They have banned political commentators that are conservative or not even conservative, just anything that is not radically left. Because I'm not even a conservative. I have some conservative viewpoints, but I'm not a conservative. They would want to ban me in a heartbeat. I'm a land-owning white male. That is just the epitome of the devil to them. They want to ban them from using like PayPal, from using credit card services, being banned from banks, banned from planes, banned from restaurants, everything you can think of. Just like the Chinese social credit score. If you have a bad social credit score in their eyes, you'd said some pro-Trump things a couple of weeks ago. You didn't agree with Black Lives Matter at this point and this point, so you should be banned from A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, blah, 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 blah. Every single service, institution you can think of. This is where they're headed. There's no other way this can go. If you are banning 22-year-old suburban kids, I mean, I know 22-year-olds isn't a kid, but come on. He's so scrawny, he is a kid. And he's so non-threatening that he would basically be a kid. If you're going to ban them from boarding planes because they say edgy jokes and they're pro-Trump, then what else is the logical conclusion? of doing these policies. I mean, if you're willing to go that far, if you're willing to ban people from using banks because of their political ideas, or using PayPal, where does it stop? For doing things that are not dangerous, they just have ideas that are different from you. Where does it end? Well, I can tell you it ends in the Chinese social credit system. If you don't know about that, then look it up. They've been reporting on this for years, way before Trump. This is nothing new. My iPhone gave me a warning that it's too hot. It needs to cool down. It's because it's in the sunlight. It's actually not that hot. I mean, it's a little hot, but so if there's a little cut in the video right before I said that, that's why. But yeah, Apple helped design the social credit system that China used. Ironically, I'm using an iPhone. I pick a different phone once this one dies out. But that is it in a nutshell. That liberals are using the term dangerous or citing the violence as a bludgeon to silence all of their political opponents and make them impossible to do daily tasks such as going to banks or flying planes. And if we continue down this path, it is incredibly dangerous. People have been warning about this free speech stuff for years. I'm not the first one to call it out, nor am I the first one to the scene when it comes to this stuff. This stuff's been steamrolling for quite some time, and now it's gotten to the point where this is the state of our country, where people are being banned left and right for every single service you can think of because of their political opinions, not because, and it's under the guise of they're dangerous or inciting violence. When asked to produce evidence of this violence or dangerous activity, they can produce absolutely nothing.